ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Okay, we'll start with our Mangalacharan in Balkan Mangalacharan. Varnanam arthasanghanam rasanam chandasam api mangalanam chakartaram vande mani vinayakam bhavani shankarau vande Shraddha Vishwasarupino Yabhyam Vinana Pashyanti Siddha Svantastamishwaram Vande Bodhamayam Nityam Gurum Shankararupinam Yamashrito Hi Vakrupi Chandra Sarvatra Vanyate Sitaram Gunakrama Punyaranya Viharino Vande Vishuddha Vijnano Kavishvara Kavishvaro Udbhava Sthiti Samhara Karini Kleshaharini Sarva Shreyaskarim Sitam Natoham Ramavallabham Yanmaya Vashavarti Vishwamakhilam Brahmadi Devasuraha Yat Satvadam Risheva Bhati Sakalam Rajo Yata Hi Brahmaha Yat Padaplavamekamiva Hi Bhavam Bodhi Sthiti Ushavataam Vandeham Tamashesha Karanaparam Ramakyamesham Harim Nana Purana Nigamagama Sammadam Yata Ramaya Ramayane Nigadidam Prachidanyatopi Swanta Sukhaya Tulasi Raghunatha Gatha Bhasha Nibandhamati Manjulamadhanoni Hariyo Jo Sumirata Siddhi Hoi Gananayaka Karivaravadana Karau Anugraha Soi Bodhirasi Subhaguna Sadana Mukha Hoi Vajana Pangucharai Girivaragahana Jasu Kripa Sudayara Pravahu Sakala Kalivaladahana Nila Saroruhasyama Taruna Aruna Barijanayana Karau Sumama Uradhama Sada Chira Sagara Sayana Kunda Indu Samadeha Umaramana Karunayana Jahidina Paraneha Karau Kripa Madanamayana Banda Guru Pada Kanja Kripa Sindhu Nararubhari Mahamohatama Ponja Jasu Bhajan Ravi Karanikara Jasu Bhajan Ravi Karanikara Jasu Bhajan Ravi Karanikara सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। Okay, Hari Om everybody, and welcome back. We are seeing, we have officially started Kishkinda Kanda of the Ramcharitamanas. It is the fourth Kanda of 7, and we are well past the halfway mark. I don't know if we're 2/3 through. Maybe we are. I don't know. The pages will tell. But we are well past the halfway mark. Bhagavan Sri Rama is looking for Sitaji. That is what is going on here in Kishkinda Kanda. It is called Kishkinda Kanda because most of the Charita, this section, takes place in a place called Kishkinda. We will get there very soon. Shabari Ma had sent Bhagavan Sri Rama to look for Sugriva in Kishkinda, which is near Pampa Sara. And so here Bhagavan is coming to now look for Sugriva at the words of his Bhakta, his great Bhakta, who is Shabari Ma. And in our last class we saw the Mangalacharan of this Kishkinda Kanda, the auspicious invocation with which this Kanda is started. Tulsidasji first does pranams to Bhagavan Rama and Lakshmana. Actually does pranams to Lakshmana Rama in reverse order. And from far, he doesn't go and stop them from their walking, because they're walking, so from far only, he does pranams to them like that. May they bless us with devotion. All of us, he asks for all of us. Then he tells Rama Nama Mahima, that blessed are those who revel in the name of Bhagavan Ram. And finally, he tells about Kashi Mahima, the glory of the city Kashi, where the compassion of Bhagavan Shiva is also highlighted, where he whispers the name Ramanam in the ear of someone who is dying, and that person gets mukti. We saw that in detail last week. Actually, Shivji and Kashi are synonymous with each other. When you hear Kashi, you think Shivji. When you hear Shivji, you think Kashi. And both of those are synonymous with Ramanama also. How wonderful it is, isn't it? Right? So you hear one and you think of all three simultaneously. Anyways, this is how the beautiful Kishkinda Kanda Mangalacharan auspicious invocation began. Now we are going to start with the first verse. What do you call it? The first chaupai. Aage chale bahuri raguraya. So now we'll chant from, this is the very, very beginning of Kishkinda Kanda, you'll see. Aage chale bahuri raguraya, reshyamukha parvata niyaraya, tahara sachiva sahita sugriva, avata dekhi atula balasiva, ati sabhita kaha sunu hanumana, purusha jugala balaru banithana, dhari bhaturupa. Sorry, 1 second. Let me scroll. The dhari bhaturupa dekho te jai, kahe sujani jiya sayana bujai, patai bali hohi manamela, bhaga uturata tajau yasela, beprarupa dhari kapita kayau, madhanai puchata sabhayau, kotumasyamala gaura sarira, kshatri rupa phirahu banabira, kathena bhumi ko Chale Bahuri Raghuraya. Bhagavan Sri Rama proceeded or moved ahead. Tulsidasji takes time to write this. I mean, this is something that's obvious. Why is he stating specifically that Bhagavan Ram went ahead? But it is actually very instructive for us because we don't move forward like Bhagavan Ram does. You know, if someone moves countries, they're always thinking, oh, I miss this food, I miss that food, I miss this thing. And then when someone is coming from that country, they say, can you bring curry powder for me? Can you bring this for me? Can you bring that for me? Because I have left, but a part of me still doesn't want to leave. Like that. Bhagavan Ram just moves forward. There's actually a great power of just moving forward and being in the present where we are without thinking about what we had and trying to bring the past to the present. And nobody knows how to drop anymore. In the past, women used to do this so powerfully. You know, when a woman would leave her home and get married and go to another home, it was a complete move. And once in a few years, maybe she would go back to visit. But in her mind, this is where she is now, right? In today's day and age, you go to university also, and you're so connected by phone, by video, by social media, that you're always in touch with the past, that it's hard to be in the present. Even so, now this is physically, right? But even when we take up projects or we take up missions, Bhagavan Ram is on a mission to find Sita Ji, so he keeps going. I mean, everyone can probably count countless projects that we have started and never finished because we didn't go forward like that. Means the instruction here to us in this first line. Tulsidasji is reminding us that just like Bhagavan Ram, we should be ready to move ahead. You know, when we go to drop Swamiji at the airport, once in a while we get that privilege to go drop him. He'll get out of the car and that's it. He's gone like the wind. He's on to his next destination. Doesn't turn back 10 times and you know how everyone else does? Like that. This is how Bhagavan Ram lives, right? Now, pop quiz for you. Based on, if you know Gurudev's words, then you know this. Which day of the year tells this instruction best? To move forward. March 4th. I didn't invent this. This is Gurudev. March 4th. Like that. Huh? If you're born on March 4th, then you're lucky. Anyways, Bhagavan Ram went ahead. Then, Rishya Mukha Parvata Niyaraya. And then he went near Aya. Sounds like it came near. Like English and Hindi mixed. But it's an Avadi word proper. Right? Rishyamukha mountain came near. He went near to Rishyamukh Parvat. Rishyamukh Parvat is the mountain where many rishis used to live. Taharaha Sachiva Sahita Sugriva. There lived Sugriva along with his ministers. Now in Tulsidasji's presentation, there is an assumption that you know who Sugriva is. And I think everybody here knows who he is. So Tulsidasji made the right assumption. And even if you don't know who he is, his story will come in a bit. Don't worry, right? But even in movies and all today, it's common for characters to be introduced without telling who they are. Like a mysterious character enters, and then later on in the movie, it's explained, right? So just dramatic effect or efficiency of time or knowing we know, he doesn't introduce him more than that, right? He lived with his ministers. Now the thing is, only a king has ministers. But a king doesn't live on a mountain. He lives in his kingdom. So there's something weird going on here, that Sugriva is living on this Rishyamukh Parvat with his ministers. Well, there's 4 ministers specifically, and we'll meet them in due time. But now, why is this important? Because Avata Deki Atula Bala Siva. He saw this Raghuraya, this Bhagavan Ram, coming with Lakshmana, And what did he see? He saw incomparable strength, and they were embodiments. Balasiva, they were embodiments of incomparable strength. Who was coming? The Lord of the universe was coming. Now, if you have been studying this Ramcharitmanas, at least for a while, you will remember that when Bhagavan Ram was walking through villages, people dropped whatever they were doing and ran to go meet him. People left everything to go run and see this Bhagavan Ram, to be in his presence. That's how mesmerizing his presence was. It was like a magnet, and most people saw his beauty first. First thing that you see when you look at the Lord is, even Karadushana, all they could see was how beautiful this Bhagavan Ram is, right? But what did Sugriva see? He saw that they are embodiments of incomparable strength. And the principle is yatha drishti tatha srishti. As is our vision, so is our world. And Sugriva's world circled around strength, or lack of strength. You'll see just now, right? That means his mind is only thinking about strength for some reason. So now see his reaction. He is seeing who? He is seeing the Lord of the entire universe. Ati sabhita kaha sunu Hanumana. With great fear, he said, listen, Hanuman. Now, if you're imagining this in your mind, you can imagine now for the first time the camera has panned to, or the character has entered, called our dear Hanumanji. The first time Hanumanji comes in is Sugriva is telling him, listen, Hanuman, and he's speaking to him with great fear. What does he say? So now, if you have come to study Ramayana because of Hanumanji, well, this is the moment. This is his entry point. And how does he enter? In a conversation with this Sugriva, so he's one of his ministers. You'd have put 2 and 2 together. He is one of the ministers. Now Sugriva says, Purusha Jugala Balarupa Nidhana. These two men are an abode of strength and beauty. So he sees the strength, but the beauty is also there. So he sees both, right? Dhari Batu Rupa Deku Te Jai. Now he instructs Hanumanji. He says, take a form of a young Batu, like a young brahmachari, a young student, and go there and see. See what? Kahi Sujani Jiyasayana Bujai. You go and you find out their intention. And you tell me what their intention is by sending a signal. Right? So now, a few things are here. One is, why would Sugriva tell him to take the form of a Batu, a little brahmachari? Of all people, of all things, take the form of a little brahmachari. Well, the principle is that a kshatriya will never do anything to a brahmana. And they're kshatriyas. So even if they have been sent by Bali, who is his brother, we'll find out in a moment, right? Even if they have been sent by Bali to kill Sugriva, which is what he is afraid of, if a brahmana goes, the kshatriya will not do anything to the brahmana. So they have bow and arrow and they're strong and everything, they must be kshatriya. This is Sugriva's thinking. Now also, if he tells Hanumanji, you send me a signal to tell me their intention, it means it's not the first time he's sending Hanuman on this kind of investigation. If you have a signal, you've done this multiple times. It's not a first new thing that's happening. But how is it that 2 random people coming into the forest will instill so much fear? It's a forest. People walk around all the time. They're not coming with an army, but there's something about their strength that made him tremble. Oh, here now it says, Pathai Bali hoi manamela. If Bali has sent them and they have evil intentions, then what will happen? Bhaga uturata tajao yahasela. I will run away immediately. I will leave this mountain and I will just run away. So when you give me the sign that Bali has sent them, I will Dasit, they say. He'll run away. He lived in absolute fear of his brother Bali. He was scared of Bali's strength, and he was also scared of what Bali could do via strong people. In fact, in Valmiki Ramayana, it is described that he started to run first, just seeing them. And Hanumanji was like, no, relax. Let's first check and confirm who they are before you start to run. Because Sugriva is such a coward, he didn't even want to know who they were. I better run just in case. Swamiji describes that Sugriva was always in trrr mode. You know, in the cartoons, the cartoon goes like they run first and then they like speed off like that. Sugriva is always just like in preparing to run mode, and he's ready to scramble as soon as something fearful happens, because he's a classic coward. So this is now Sugriva's instruction to Hanumanji. Somehow Sugriva has the capacity to instruct Hanumanji. We know Hanumanji as Sevak of Bhagavan Ram, but here he is appearing to be Sevak of Sugriva. So now interesting now what happens. Vipra Rupa Dhari Kapi Taha Gayo. Well, our Kapi, our Hanumanji, took the form of a Brahmana. It says Vipra Rup. It doesn't say Batu Rup. Means he took the form of a Brahmana. It could be a little Brahmana. Or he may have thought in his mind, it is in Sugriva's best interest for me to take the form of a big Brahmana. I don't know. It's not cool, like specified here. So you could assume either. Kapitaha Gayo. He went there. So he listened to him and he went there. So now there's three really powerful things about Hanumanji in this introduction. He hasn't said anything yet. But without him saying anything, one, if there's no introduction, it means how can you not know Hanumanji? You can't be listening to Ramayana and not know who Hanumanji is. That principle is very clear. He needs no introduction. You know, when people introduce people and you're like, this speaker needs no introduction, but I'm still going to introduce them? Well, Tulsidasji actually follows that principle. He does not introduce Hanumanji at all. Now the second thing you see, actually his first quality that is apparent about Hanumanji is that he's ready to serve. He doesn't ask any questions, he doesn't say anything, and he goes to serve. There were other ministers also, but he sent Hanumanji specifically. And the other thing that is apparent about Hanumanji is somehow, even though he was a Kapi means Vanara, or terribly translated as monkey, right? He had the power to take a form of a Brahmana. So he's not an ordinary Kapi. Something special is there about him. Now how does he go? Mathanai puchata asabhayo. He bowed his head and now he started to ask a question. Now, why did he bow his head? We're going slowly. I mean, everyone knows the story. So we're seeing really how Tulsidasji has presented it, right? Why did Hanumanji bow his head? A Kshatriya is supposed to bow to a Brahmana. Right now, Bhagavan is in the form of a Kshatriya because he has his bow and arrow. And Hanumanji is in the form of a Brahmana. That is the instruction that was given to him, and Tulsidasji has said that's the form he took. But the thing is, Bhagavan's prabhav, Bhagavan's glory is so much, the force of his personality is such, that even though Hanumanji is a Brahmana and Bhagavan is a Kshatriya, it is Hanumanji who goes and bows his head. We saw this in Balkand also, where when Bhagavan Ram entered the tent, Janakji and all great munis and rishis stood up at that time when he entered, right? Because sometimes, seeing some people, we don't have to bow. Our head bows itself automatically. Have you seen? Just in the presence of that person, it's like an automatic reaction. So that is the first thing, right? Just Bhagavan's power is so much that helplessly Hanumanji bows. The second thing is, Hanumanji is a Bhakta. What else will he do? You can put on a different face. You can take on a different persona. You can dress differently. You can be a different person outside. but the person inside does not change. So, really speaking, Hanumanji cannot be someone other than who he is. And this is instructive to us also, that eventually, whatever facade we try to put on, we ourselves will break character. Break character of the facade and be ourselves. Huh? So now, Hanumanji goes there and he bows his head as a Brahmana to this Kshatriya. And what does he say? Ko tumha syamala gaura sarira. First question, who are you? Ko tumha. Who are you? First question. You both who are of dark and fair complexion. Kshatri Rupa, in this form of Kshatriyas, Pirahu Banabira. You are roaming the forest, O great heroes. So the first thing Hanumanji sees is their physical appearance. He asks them, who are you? He comments on their physical appearance, and he says, you're roaming the forest in the form of warriors. Means the impression in the words is like you've taken the form of warriors, but I'm not sure if you're actually warriors. See this really interesting thing. I find this really interesting. Bhakta is meeting Bhagavan for the first time. We know it's Bhakta and we know it's Bhagavan, right? One has come in the form of Brahmachari and one has come in the form of Kshatriya. So both of them have taken a form other than what they are, and they're both meeting each other now in other forms the first time that they're meeting. So now it's just so interesting to see how this whole thing comes together here. Right? Anyways, now, so he asks, who are you? It appears that you're taken this form of these Kshatriyas roaming the forest. Means you're in the form of Kshatriyas. What are you doing in this forest? Kathina bhumi ko mala padagami. This rough, hard, terrible ground. And your soft feet. You're treading this hard, rough ground with your soft feet. Hanumanji's nature, look, he's so aware, so sharp, so perceptive that he could see Bhagavan's feet are not an ordinary forest dweller's feet. They're soft, right? And it's a natural tendency of a sevak for their eyes to go to the feet of their master. He doesn't know it's his master, but his eyes have gone there already. He says, Kavana hetu bicharahu banaswami. For what reason are you wandering in this forest? O Swami. He calls him Swami. He calls him master. And it shows how our buddhi, our intellect, our eyes also may not know that I have met my Bhagavan or I have met my Guru. But the heart knows. He says, O Swami, random two people in the forest, why will he go and call them Swami? He knows. His even before he knows, his heart knows. It is his master. Right? And he asked them, why are you roaming in the forest? Meaning he knows they're not from around here. You know how the Indian shopkeeper knows you're not from India? You can go and talk in perfect accent and perfect everything and try to get Indian prices, but they know. Hanumanji knows you're not from around here, Bhagavan Ram. What are you doing here? Like that. Mridula manohara sundara gata. Your soft, captivating, beautiful limbs. Sahata dasaha bana atapabata. They're having to endure the unbearable scorching heat and wind and all of that in this forest. Right? Bhagavan Ram doesn't say anything yet. Then, ki tuma teeni deva mahako. Are you 2 out of the 3 devas like Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh? Is that who you are? Are you 2 of 3? Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh? And then he's thinking, well, okay, is there any pair instead? Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh would have come together. Why will they leave one out? So then he says, Naranarayana ki tumado. Are you Naranarayana? Are you Naranarayana roaming this forest? Who are you? Bhagavan Ram still doesn't answer. Hanumanji keeps going. Jagakarana Tarana Bhava Bhanjana Dharani Bhara. Are you the very cause of this world? Are you Bhagavan himself? The one who takes devotees across this samsara and who rids the world of all papis? Is that who you are? Kitama, or are you Akhila Bhuvanapati, the master of this entire universe? Linha Manuja Avatara, who has taken human avatar. How does Hanumanji know? Okay, well, what could Lord Rama say to that? Yes, I'm the Lord of the universe. Good guess. If it was us, okay, you just retract a little bit, right? If it was us, Hanumanji would have just had to say Kotum. Means the person just has to say, who are you? And before they can suggest a first guess, you have answered your whole life story by then. You don't even need to be, no one needs to guess who you are. You tell them yourself. In fact, they just need to say who, and we start to answer. They don't need to finish the sentence also. Right? But Hanumanji asks Bhagavan Ram 3 to 4 times he asks him, right? He asks Kotum, Kitum, so many ways he says it, right? Who are you? Each time he comes closer to the truth. Now see, some people say on the path of bhakti, the bhakta just has to love Bhagavan and he doesn't need to think. No thinking required, just love. But see here how Parama Bhakta Hanuman does inquiry. He's thinking, is he not? Who are you? Well, I see this form of yours. What are you doing in the forest? Who, like that. He's thinking, giving thought, right? And when a bhakta inquires, Bhagavan reveals himself in his heart. You know, outside, Bhagavan can look however, he can be however, but with just a little bit of thinking, Hanumanji's heart figured it out. Bhagavan Rama revealed himself in the heart of Hanumanji before he revealed himself on the outside. So inquiry is very important even on the path of bhakti. Because Bhagavan cannot be known by our senses. He's seeing Bhagavan right now. He cannot be known by our buddhi. Our intellect is looking at this form of the Lord. In the exact same way, at first glance of the world, we cannot see the divinity behind it. Is that not true? How many times have we been told this world is divine? We don't see it. And so even when Hanumanji sees Bhagavan Ram, who is his Swami, he doesn't recognize him. The first thing we see is always physical. He also saw physical first. What did he see? He saw you're dark and fair, you're holding weapons, your body is tender, your feet are soft. But the difference between Hanumanji and us is that it didn't end there for Hanumanji. He continued to inquire. And the principle is, by inquiry into the nature of anything, we come to know its true nature. So even a bhakta is not supposed to accept the world superficially or have blind faith. Their bhakti is supposed to be born of inquiry. And Hanumanji, being Parama Bhakta, is demonstrating this in the way he meets Bhagavan Ram for the first time ever. So now our Hanumanji has asked Bhagavan Ram, he has put forth a whole set of questions, and he has hit the nail on the head also. He's exactly pinned down who this Bhagavan Ram is. So now Bhagavan is in a corner. He has been cornered and he has to answer Hanumanji's questions. So now see how he answers what he answers. What would you have said? Yes, I am that Lord of the universe. You are so good. So other things you guessed first? Why? You should have guessed directly. Know that I'm the Lord of the universe. Now see Bhagavan Ram's answer. Let us chant. This is after Doha number 1. This Chopa is right after Doha 1. Kosale Sadasarata Ke Jai Hama Pitu Bachana सुकुमारी सुहाई इहा हरि निशिचर बैदेहि बेप्र फिरहि हमको जततेहि आपन चरित कहा हम गाई कहु विप्र निज कथा बुझाई प्रभु पहिचानि परियु गहि चरना सो सुख उमा जाई नहीं बरना पुलकित तन मुख आवन बचना देखत रुचिर बेश कै रचना पुनि धीरज धरि स्तुति कीनि हर्ष हृदय निज नाथ ही चीनि मोर न्याव मैं पूजा साई तुम पूजऊ कस नर की नाई तब माया बस फिरहु बुलाना ताते मैं नहीं प्रभु पहचाना एक मैं मंद मोह बसा कुटिल हृदय अज्ञान पुनि प्रभु मोहि बिसारे हूँ दीन बंधु भगवान सिया हर रामचंद्र की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय उमापति महादेव की जय बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय. Okay, so now Bhagavan Ram has been given the mic. Bhagavan Ram, your turn to talk. What is his response? Kosalesa Dasaratha ke jai. We are the sons of Kosalesa, the Lord of Kosala. We are the sons of Dashrathi, who is the king of Ayodhya. Like almost like he's saying, you're asking if I'm the cause, but I'm just an effect. Look, I'm just the son of Dashratha. Hama pitu bachana mani bana ai. Following our father's command, we have come to the forest. Means to fulfill my father's command. Here we are. So you asked, who am I? What am I doing here? Well, who am I is I am the son of Dashratha. We are the sons of Dashratha. And what are we doing in this forest? We've come here to fulfill his word. Nama Rama Lachimana Do Bhai. Our names are Rama and Lakshmana, and we are two brothers. Sanga Nari Sukumari Suhai. Along with us, there was a beautiful princess, a delicate girl, a wonderful, beautiful princess. Iha Hari Nisichara Baidehi. Over here means while we were in the forest, a Rakshasa kidnapped this Vaidehi. Vaidehi is daughter of Janaka, Sitaji. Bipra, oh Brahmana, Pirahi Hamakhojata Dehi. So now we are roaming around looking for her. So now think about it. What does he say? We're the sons of Dashratha. We're here to fulfill his word. We were with, my name is Rama, his name is Lakshmana. We were with a beautiful princess, and a Rakshasa came and kidnapped her, and now we are roaming the forest looking for her. Now, Bhagavan Ram, how many accomplishments does he have? Even just in the forest. He killed 14,000 Rakshasas like 5 minutes ago. Meaning like recently he killed so many Rakshasas. Kara, Dushana, who are equal to Ravana in strength, right? He gave Mukti to Jatayu. He gave Santa Mahima to Naraji. He blessed Shabari. Endless things. He sent Brahmastra behind, what's his name? Jayant. Endless things Bhagavan has done. And all he did was tell as briefly as possible, to the point, including the one time when Sitaji was left alone and kidnapped. So this is how Bhagavan Ram tells his story. You just think what you would have told if you were asked about who you are. People are just waiting to be asked that question. Right? Anyways. Apana charita kaha hamagai. I have told our story. Kahu bipra nija katha bhujai. Now you, O Brahmana, you tell your katha in detail. So now see, how many lines he took to tell his story? 3 lines. If you count by line, it is 3 lines. But actually it is 1.5 chopais if you count by chopai. He tells his entire story. The question was longer than his answer. Hanumanji's question was longer than how Bhagavan Ram answered, right? Now who are you, sons of Dashratha? Why are you wandering in the forest? We're looking for Vaidehi. Are you the cause of this world who has come to remove the burden of this world? No. I mean, you're asking if I've come to remove Rakshasas? A Rakshasa took my wife. How am I removing that? Very interesting Bhagavan Ram's responses. Are you the master of the universe who has taken avatar? How can I be master of the universe? I'm not even master of Ayodhya. I'm nobody. Huh? Who are you? He is more interested in the other person than he is about talking about himself. Huh? Now, the order in which Bhagavan Ram tells who he is extremely instructive for us. He doesn't say, I'm Ram, this is Lakshmana. Now let me tell you who we are. Maybe, I don't know, I haven't watched this section of Ramayana in the video. I watched it a long time ago. I wonder how it is presented, whether he starts by saying, I am Rama and this is Lakshmana. But that is not the presentation here. First he says we're sons of Kosalesha Dashrath. Means we're sons of King Dashratha. He identifies himself first with his roots, not as an individual. When we identify ourselves with our roots, our Mahatmas explain that we have something to hold on to as we navigate ourselves in this world. When you don't know your roots, you're really lost. It's not that our roots are the best identity, but they're a good place to start in our journey, right? An identity with which we can hold on to values and traditions through which we can eventually transcend them, right? So our individual identity should not be independent of our roots, because where we have come from, when we remember that where we have come from has determined who we are, then there's so much more gratitude. There's the perspective that we have about life is completely different. We realize that everything about me has a cause, and ego can't come in and all of that, right? Anyways, eventually then we seek the ultimate cause, not just our roots. So where he has come from, identify with our roots. We must know our roots. In Guyana, we were having a kids camp, and we talked about indentured laborers. We mentioned, some children did not know what an indentured laborer is. How do you not know who your great-grandparents and your grandparents were, and all the sacrifices that they made to be here? So, totally oblivious. In 2 generations. 1 generation to 2 generations. It's really, really interesting. Anyways, then what are you doing here? He says, we are here to fulfill the words of my father. Right? Meaning, now see, what are we doing here? Do you know what you're doing in this world? What is your purpose? What we are doing here should be very clear to us. It is only when we have clarity about our identity that we can have clarity about our duty. Actually, this was Arjuna's problem. Exact problem of Arjuna. He couldn't figure out his right duty because his identity at the time was confused. When we have clarity about who we are, what our identity is, then we are very clear about what it is we're supposed to do. So his dharma, his duty is clear because of his identity. whenever you're not sure what your duty is, you pause and ask yourself, what is my identity? And by figuring out my identity, I will be clear, a little bit clearer at least, about what my duty is at this moment. Only then, after all of that, he tells our names are Rama and Lakshmana. Means our individual identity does not matter as much as our roots, and it doesn't matter as much as our duty. Both those things take priority over my individuality. Then he tells where he is going to search for my Sitaji. This was his problem, right? My problem is Sita has been kidnapped and I'm looking for her. But he kept his problem for last. In this list, where will our problems fit? Probably we might tell our name and then our problem, or our problem and then our name, one of those two, and everything else might not even make the list. But Bhagavan Ram, he demonstrates to us how it is that we should think about ourselves, how we should, well, introduce ourselves to our own selves. Who are you? Like that. Anyways, then he quickly asks, you tell your story. Means there's no obsession with himself, and there's no my problem is the biggest problem in the world, and now you come and listen to how sad I am, and straight away he's thinking about Hanumanji. So Bhagavan Ram demonstrates how an ideal person should think about and introduce themselves, and now Hanumanji is the ideal Bhakta. So now see his response. How are you going to respond to Bhagavan Ram telling you, I'm just an ordinary son of an ordinary king? Prabhu Pahichani. He recognized his Prabhu. Parayuga hi charana. And he fell at his feet and held his feet. So sukha Uma jai nahi barana. O Uma, O Parvati, that joy cannot be described. Means by this line coming, it is made clear that Shivji is the one who is telling this prasanga. Remember the different ghats. There's Jnana Ghat, Karma Ghat, Bhakti Ghat, Dina Ghat. Depending on the narrator, accordingly we're supposed to think about the prasanga. So now here we are. It is a katha of Hanumanji's helplessness, you'll see, right? But Shivji is telling the story. So now we are at Jnana Ghat. Means that even though it's a story of Bhakta and Bhagavan meeting, there is so much depth of knowledge in this meeting of the two of them. And we'll see a little bit. But Hanumanji recognized his Bhagavan and he fell at his feet. How is it that Shivji could not describe the joy that he was having to Uma? Because remember, Hanumanji is Shivji. Remember, the incarnation, Shivji took Amsha as Hanumanji when he came in Ramayana. And so now he's personally experiencing what the joy of being at his Lord's feet is. That joy, how can it be described? Personal experience. Like, simple thing. Take the simplest example. You try to describe what the taste of a fresh, farm-picked Guyana pineapple is to somebody in North America. You can try, but it's not going to mean anything. Whatever you have, you multiply it by 1,000. And it is sweeter than that. Like that. What else can you say? And so he's personally experiencing this. Right? Now let me just give you an example of how to think about this from the point of view of Jnana Ghat. Right? From the point of view of knowledge. How this section is coming with knowledge. In Bhagavad Gita, there's a very famous verse in chapter 4 that describes how we come to know the self. And I'm sure if you study Bhagavad Gita, you'll know this verse. tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. That self, that reality, God, should be known. You should know that. How? Tadvidhi pranipatena, by doing pranam. Pariprashnena, by asking questions. Sevaya, and by doing seva. Did Hanumanji do pranam? Did he ask questions? He asked more questions than we could think of. Did he do seva? Well, he's here because he's doing seva for Sugriva. He did all three. And the result? Upadikshanti te jnanam jnanena tattvadarshinaha. The knower of the self will give you that knowledge. Is that not exactly what happened? Or in language of bhakti, so jane jai dehu janai. That one comes to recognize Bhagavan, who Bhagavan reveals himself to. So this is how Hanumanji falls at the feet of Bhagavan, like, oh my God, how could I not recognize my master, like that? And now this story is so moving from the point of view of Hanumanji that what happens to Shivji is, it is very possible he could go into Samadhi. I mean, he's at the feet of his Lord, and then Parvati here is at this cliffhanger being like, no, don't go into Samadhi. I want to know what happens next. So she has to keep Bhagavan Shiva from going into Samadhi while he's telling the story somehow. But anyways, he doesn't go into Samadhi. The story continues. What happens? Pulakitatana. His hairs stood on end. Mukha avana bachana. And no words came to his mouth. Dekata ruchira beshakai rachana. Seeing this lovely vesh, this lovely form of Bhagavan. Now see the interesting thing. What happens when somebody falls at the feet of Bhagavan? What does Bhagavan do? Well, he lifts them up. He didn't lift up Hanumanji. He left him. He didn't lift up Hanumanji. No mention of him lifting up Hanumanji. Okay? So now let's see what happens then. Punidhi rajudhari astutikini. Then Hanumanji kind of composed himself. He gathered his courage and he did stuti. He praised him. And harasha hridaya nija natahi chinhi. And he was so happy in his heart that he finally found his Lord. You know, Hanumanji would have been waiting for so long to meet Bhagavan Ram. You know when you go to pick up somebody you're very excited to see at the airport, and you're standing there, and you know the time that their flight is coming, and you track it, and you know what time it landed, and you know everything, and then you start to see people coming out of the airport you start to look at the baggage tags to see if people coming out have that destination, to make sure, okay, now they're coming, they're almost coming. You just think about the eagerness that we have in anticipation of someone we're waiting for to come out at a known time. Here Hanumanji is. Every day of his life, he would have been waiting for Bhagavan Ram to come. I didn't meet him today. Maybe tomorrow. I didn't meet him today. Maybe tomorrow. When is he going to come? Where is he going to come? In what form is he going to come? No idea. And now finally, after all of that waiting, his Lord has come. And after all of that, he didn't recognize him. You just imagine the feelings that must be going through in Hanumanji's heart. Now, the other thing that you have to think about is, why is it that Bhagavan Shiva came in the form of a Vanara, in the form of a monkey? You have to think a little bit about that. I'm not going to tell. But now, after this indescribable joy that Hanumanji feels, he gets really sad. Really, really sad. How can you be sad, Hanumanji? You've just met Bhagavan. Why are you sad? How can you be sad? Actually, the saddest thing has just happened. And what is that? Yes, he's happy to meet Bhagavan. But at the same time, you put yourself in his shoes and then you'll see. Imagine that you're waiting and waiting and waiting to meet your guru. And you're thinking, okay, I'm going to meet my guru next week, next year, whatever. In your mind, you're thinking, you're waiting to meet him. That's all you can think about every day. And then you meet your guru, and he looks at you and he asks you, who are you? Like, you can imagine the sinking feeling of the heart when that question hits you. What do you mean, who am I? How do you not know me? That kind of sorrow is the sorrow that Hanumanji felt at this time. And so now he says to Bhagavan, it's not fair that you forgot me. I am a human being. I mean, I'm not a human being. I'm a jiva. I mean, this is your Maya. Of course I should forget you. But how can you forget me? So now he cries. He literally cries to Bhagavan, how could you forget me? But we have to see that next week, because I just realized it's 8:30 and I need to end class a little early today. So it's not a cliffhanger. Maybe it is a little bit. But at least we didn't stop before they met. And at least we didn't stop before he found out, So now they both know who they are. Everybody knows everything. But now Hanumanji is going to ask Bhagavan Ram, how could you forget me? Why could you forget me? And then we'll see Bhagavan Rama's response. Did Bhagavan Ram actually forget him? Is it possible for Bhagavan to actually forget Hanumanji? That also not possible. So then why the drama? There's symbolism in that too. So that we will see next week. Okay, I'll do closing prayer, and I will see everybody next Wednesday at 7:30. I hope the 6:30 worked for the Eastern Standard Time people, and the 7:30 worked for the AST people. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Shri Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. It's wonderful to be back in class, everybody. We'll see you next week. And we'll chat next week, okay? Hari Om.